No car talks for those two lifts. We're rolling up to the gym with a crew. Car talks are more of a kind of one-on-one thing that we have going on. But no, that was a crazy ass set of squats. And that was nuts too, because the last time I hit that same weight, and it was way heavier back then too, was with my old college buddy. And he's kind of on the way down, instead of being so, because, he was up there. When I started really beefing up at like 200, he was coming down from like 300. I wish I got a picture, because one time we were both squatting at the rec center, and we both had 5 plates facing opposite squat racks. That would have been good. It's very rare you get to have a squat off like that. You know what I'm saying? But plan for today with back. Go crazy. Go crazy in a good squeezing, burning way, but crazy nonetheless. I start to notice, and I feel like I probably pulled something a long time ago, and it's just like a minor thing, but I can kind of feel my left lat, like where it inserts up in my armpit, if you can kind of imagine what I'm saying. Sometimes I can get it a little tender by messing with it, right? By doing rows that are too heavy or pull down, or just... So, yesterday was a rest day. All these videos are kind of on like a couple day delay. So, even though it was a rest day, we're still backing in for back. But I'll probably go a little more chill, because if I keep trying to do like max stack pull downs every back day, basically twice a week, that's going to mess with me, right? That's actually going to start tweaking things, and then I might actually really pull something, and I'll be totally screwed, right? Like a complete fool. There's a circumstance with hurting yourself in the gym where if something happens completely unexpected, there was no warning, it's like you got hit by a freaking earthquake. Okay? Shame on you. Whatever, right? Sometimes shit just happens. There's videos of guys where I know a guy from high school where he was benching 185 one day. This guy could rep over 3 plates. 185 got him. Big ass pull. His chest was all freaking bruised up and everything else like that. Sometimes you can't predict it, and there's no shame in that. That just kind of sucks. But if there really wasn't anything you could do, shit just happened, there's a little bit of grace in that. You got hit with the unexpected. That's part of life. But if you knew that you had a tweak, if you knew that something was off, or you didn't feel like you were ready to hit that, or maybe you should have, just whatever, that's shame on you. When you hurt yourself there, that's your fault, and that's not cool. There's no grace in hurting yourself essentially on purpose, because the logic is not, okay, I think this is the smartest thing to do right now. The logic is, I don't think I'm going to hurt myself. I got it. Let's just go for it. Load another plate on. And it's kind of a fine line, right? I've been on both sides of that, where I've had, in my mind, like, all right, doing an over 500 pound squat for reps today, let's go. Warm up, 1 plate, awesome. 2 plates, ooh, my knee's a little tender. Okay, let's save squats for next time. Back off, hit the ejection button, hit the kill switch, no more. And that's a good move, right? That's not an awesome, like, flashy checkmate move, but that is a good move in the long game, because guess what? You're going to lift another day. You're going to lift well another day. But I've also been on the other side of it, where like I was doing laying curls when I was dieting, and we were traveling, because I was down in Florida visiting my grandparents, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling strong today. Laying leg curls, full stack, massive pull on my right hamstring. I've never pulled anything where I actually had visible bruising, so I don't know if that's just a me bruising thing, or maybe I've just never pulled anything to that, level of extreme. But that was not good. That threw me off for quite a while. Those first days really sucked, because I was just limping around, not awesome. And then, there's all sorts of like benches that were too heavy, or all sorts of little things. But luckily for me, they've all added up and given me a certain respect for not trying to rip my tendons off of my skeletal system. I want everything to stay attached so I can keep getting pumps like a beast and go home feeling good, and focus my recovery on actual, muscle building recovery, not, muscle damage, muscle tear, recovery. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. But once I get started warming up, that's when I actually have a good idea of what I want to do. But for these next few weeks at least, when I start dieting down, my training changes in the sense that I don't really bias anything in particular. Like I hit everything pretty evenly because all I'm trying to do is maintain everything. But while I'm still trying to grow at least a touch over these next maybe six-ish weeks. I mean, it's almost August. It's getting close. Maybe 4 weeks or so, maybe another month. But for this next month, for back, I'm focusing a bit more on lats. I want my lats to really widen out. Thickness-wise, I'm all right. For where I'm at, I want my lats to really reach out. So when I do a front lat spread, when I do a double bio shot, they really kind of like open up wide. Like you've seen the first Jurassic Park. You remember that thing with the sleazy tech guy, and that one shows up and it flares its neck out. That's what I want to be able to do with my lats. Trying to beef up my traps any more than they already are, it's not really going to help me. And I think there's a weird thought process with traps where it's like bigger traps means you have a bigger back. And I think the actual situation of that is bigger traps means you have like a more kind of like gym bro kind of look. Like I want big traps as much as the next guy, but I don't want them overpowering my back. I don't want to be the guy coming in for a shrug workout and then leaving. But yeah, once I get started, I'll know what I'm doing. Lat focused. Then we can see what exercises end up popping out of the blue. I'll try to do things I haven't done before, just in the spirit of trying to change things up. Let's start with some single arm pull downs on this pull down machine, which is extra, well, let's just say extra interesting. So what I mean by that is it's got a couple angles that are playing in its favor, or at least, to make it a different movement than a standard pull down. For one, this handle is much closer to this point of rotation than the weight is, right? So that means I've got a lever that's, kind of, what's the word? Well, I guess it's a leverage is rough. I feel heavier weight than the weight is over here. So even though I have one plate loaded, the amount of force that I'm feeling to actually lift it is probably more like 1.5. Good for me. So now I only have to load 2 plates, and that's more than enough. And then since it's weight loaded or plate loaded, it's got a different kind of strength curve where it's actually heaviest right when this arm is parallel with the ground, right, or when it's level. And then it actually gets lighter at the bottom and kind of at the top in the stretch. So that means it gets kind of, well, let's just say more comfortable to really loosen up and let myself go all the way as stretched as I can get, because it gets a little bit lighter, and I can squeeze extra hard because it actually gets a little easier at the bottom as well. So a lot of angles at play, and it all boils down to it feels good. So left side first. Okay. Ooh, goodness. Oh, guys. One more. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay, let's do one more here. Double arm, and then move on. 2. Okay. 2. 3. 6. Okay. Oh, I'm not done. Oh, just give me a second. 2. 2. Ah. Okay, holy shit. Whew. That was good. So one reason I like this machine too is I've got a bit of a habit, and this might be kind of tricky to see, but here, you tell me, can you see kind of like the triangle-ness of each lat? I feel a lot of lats like basically down at the bottom where they tie in. But with this pull down, I'm feeling a lot more up top, closer to my armpit. And that's the part that's really gonna thicken you up, you know, from the front and back. That's what I wanna see. All right, so a good set of pull-ups will be a nice, kind of slightly nasty set for now, because I'm not gonna sit here and do a full-on squeeze hold. And pull-ups are hard for me anyway, so it's not like holding is really even on the table. But I'd say I got a good 12 in me, kind of quick, just overall kind of lat damaging. And it's not because I'm like, holy crap, I'm gonna activate my, lat major so much better doing a pull-up. Half my logic is like, I haven't done a set of pull-ups for a while. Change it up. If you haven't done a certain leg press for a while, odds are it's probably due, and who knows, it might feel extra good that day. Whoops. That's one thing that sucks. When I'm making these videos, I gotta put all the music through my headphones instead of the speaker. But that's all right. The headphones get pretty loud too. Okay. Oh, that's freaking heavy. Let's do something else. That was good though. Those are freaking hard. All right, next up, some light squeezing, and not only squeezing, but holding pull downs will be good. So only 170, which is very manageable. And what I want to feel is like this little extra oomph at the bottom, right? Everybody can do a pull down and just kind of pump it around. Or when I do a heavy set, that's kind of all I'm doing, just pumping the weight around. But when I go a little lighter, there's this extra portion of the set, or the rep, where it's okay, pull down, pull down, pull down. I'm basically at the bottom of my range of motion. And it's just this little extra flex. And at the cost of using lighter weight, the additional just like burn and activation I get from that little extra oomph, well worth it. Come on. See. Okay. Oh, okay, one more of those. Two. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Ooh, let's move on. Goodness, those were good. I think coming back to finish right here will be it. So if this is a good one, that will add up to 7. Yeah, 7 lat focused sets. That's about right. But I'm obviously not judging it just on the number. I'm judging it on sort of the overall amount of fatigue, damage / kind of pumpness that I feel. And this is kind of like a very current thought process. I'm getting a lot of comments. Well, how pumped you are does not matter. The pump is inconsequential. It's all about muscular, mechanical tension and stretch and fiber activation and motor unit recruitment. And to that I say, well, when you flip a light switch and the lights come on, did the lights come on because you flipped a switch? Or did the lights come on because flipping that switch caused, electricity to flow through all this stuff? And then that's what happened, So I think you're not wrong. I would never say that you're not wrong that the working out is all about, tension and workload and overall just like progressive, making sure that you really push yourself hard. And you can explain it however, scientifically you want to. You can say, well, actually, you didn't just flip the switch. You sent an electric signal through your nervous system, and your brain computed that you wanted to put your hand onto the switch. And then, you can explain it down to minute details. Somebody could write an entire encyclopedia-long book about exactly everything that goes into a dumbbell curl if they wanted to meander their way around and, write the whole and explain the whole thing like a high school essay where you're trying to reach an extra word limit. Saying something in the most complicated way doesn't mean it's more right. If I have a good lift, motor unit recruitment probably there from all these squeezing, nasty sets, burning, everything else, plus some heavy ones, plus some lighter ones, whatever. And if I'm well hydrated and well rested, that's going to result in me being very pumped. So it's not like physically being pumped means I'm growing. But if everything I need to do in the pursuit of growth is correct, then I'm going to be pumped, and that's kind of an indicator I'm doing something right. So don't hate on the simpler way of describing it. Just because you've been watching a certain amount of, you get it. Let's go nuts here. Come on. Oof. Okay. All right. Let's find some good lighting. All right. Feeling like a beast. Pumped. Sweating to the point of actually probably ringableness. But let's do a little check of, kind of a through the shirt pose down. Or pump check, rather. Oh, yeah, that's good. If I had to pick, well, if you gave me the magic to pick any body part to boost that I wanted, I would pick lats, I'd pick traps, I'd pick chest, I'd pick legs. I'd pretty much pick everything. But first on that list is definitely lats and triceps. And then everything else kind of falls in line. Chest, legs, probably shoulders a little. I mean, really just boost everything. So that's kind of a moot point to even bring up. But let's see how we're looking here. Ooh, oh goodness. Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about when I say, hitting my mid traps, rhomboids, teres major. Because, I mean, look, shit, even just standing here, there's a pretty clear line separating lats, lower back, like your rectors, kind of down here, this slabs of meat, traps up here in the middle, that kind of it's almost it's because it's not just a diamond shape. It's almost this weird, thick on top, thin, and then thickens out in the middle kind of look. But then there's those extra little things in the middle, right, which are kind of poking themselves out right behind or / below my rear delts. And those are extra fancy. When I'm doing upright row, or not upright, but more upper back focus row, let's say I'm doing a seated wide bar, that's what I want to feel really squeeze. Because then, when I do a back to bye shot, they really jump out like a freaking set of eyes. For any Hanma fans, you know what I'm talking about. Whew. Holy crap. So that's good. And even just freaking sitting there, holding those poses, that's starting to burn. Let me see if I can get a couple drips out of this thing. Oh, shit. All right, I guess I wasn't as sweaty as I thought. What the hell? Well, that's okay. Just leaves more room to sweat it up for arms tomorrow. Maybe I'll do a hoodie lift. Get freaking extra drenched. But I think that's enough to say there. Let's pack this stuff up and go home, eat something. Goodness. This road is turning into a freaking war zone. But that's okay. That's alright. My goal for this trip is complete. Get pumped to SHIT, and then go home to get an MEAL. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. So post-workout meal, I'll see what I want to eat. I've gotten some, so I haven't been doing much whey protein, but what I have gotten is a little bit of beef protein. Right, so instead of being like a whey isolate, it's a beef isolate. It's a little off, a little funky, but it doesn't mess with my gut. I think sometimes for me the whey, and maybe this is just because I haven't really looked into the perfect whey for me, but yeah, I've been chilling out a little bit just because I haven't needed to slam a crazy amount of food this off season, because I wanted to take it a little bit slow and steadier than previously, which has been working out pretty well. I mean, typically for me to get up to 260 or in the 260s, now getting closer to a 270, I mean, usually that's heavy. Usually that feels like a ton of freaking weight. But right now, not so much. I mean, it just doesn't feel that wild. So I guess what that's telling me is I'm carrying it at least a little bit better, which I think is probably mainly to do with the fact that I'm eating a little bit more steadily, right? I'm eating more than I was a few months ago, but only enough to kind of continual steady growth, rather than trying to like slam an insane amount of food off the rip and then kind of just throw my whole system out of whack. I'm talking like regular insulin sensitivity, just my ability to eat a lot of food continuously, and then kind of just feeling big and sort of bloated, which obviously I'm not going to look back and say I wish I did everything completely differently, because everything I've done so far has gotten me to this point, which I'm pretty comfortable with where I'm at right now. But there's definitely space over the course of time of, as long as you're working out and working on your diet and like doing a dirty bulk or being a little bit more steady with everything, where it does need to evolve over time. You're a different guy 1 year into working out than you were before. And if you want to continue to make progress, then the way that you eat, the way that you train, the way that everything you do, it's got to kind of adjust at least enough to make sure you're in the green. You want to have consistent, showable, quantifiable gains over the course of time, and that's the proof that what you've been doing has been working. So if you're the exact same size, body weight, strength, every metric hasn't changed over the course of 6 months, all that's telling me, or all that's telling you, if you're looking at that info, is everything you've been doing has been enough to stay exactly where you're at, which isn't that hard. A lot of guys are stuck, plateaued for quite a freaking while, and the main reason is the fact that you just got to push it over the edge, just that little percentage more to start making a change, right? I mean, it's like I guess I can't think of an exact example of something to play into it, but somebody could go to the gym, work out, break a sweat, maybe they do a little bit of cardio every so often, also, they come home, they eat a decent amount of food, but it's just not enough. The intensity of their training, maybe the consistency of the training is a bit off. Their calorie intake is not sufficient enough to really warrant solid recovery and over recovery into muscle gain. Maybe your sleep is jacked up because you keep staying up all night playing Marvel Rivals, right? I get personally that's something I've never gotten into, and I'm okay with that. But I get the allure. Going to sleep is not as fun as sitting up doing stuff or just playing on your phone or whatever. But it's those little things that if you kind of start to change, right, shit's going to add up. And they really are little in the sense of, you don't really think about it that much. Like, probably should have gone to bed at 10. It's already 1. I'll just stay up a little longer, whatever. Do I want to stick to my, I said I was going to get lean. Screw it. I'm going to Bibi Bop. I'm having a cheat day today. Any number of things like that. And in the moment, whatever. It's nothing serious. But I promise it adds up. And if you let it add up long enough, before you know it, shit, man, you're not making gains. You're making losses. Your physique is degrading. You are worse than you looked, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. And sometimes it's hard to get around that. Be it whatever, how your schedule might have changed or your overall workload. Let's say you got some chitlins popped out that you might not have been expecting. That's not me speaking from experience, but I could freaking imagine. It's going to throw your routine out of whack. But that's kind of where I like to, and obviously I've never had to do this yet, so I'm kind of speaking from a spoiled position, of course. But I would imagine that I would at least try to put myself in the position of, keeping my life, not my life vest, but putting my oxygen mask on first before helping others, in the sense that I want to keep my regular sort of routine up so that everything that, goes on in my life outside of the working out just gets to feed off of it. I think we're very focused on, okay, what can I get out of work? Oh, I get to look awesome. I get to look sick. Oh, I get to bench this much. You're forgetting the most important benefit of working out of all. And of course I like it because it's my thing. I'm working out hard because I want to make serious progress, but even if I wasn't, even if for whatever reason I completely lost the drive to keep trying to put more muscle on, and I said, you know what, I want to put a lot more of my daily focus into something else. I want to become the best pottery sculptor that I can be, and that's what I wanted to put all my extra energy into. I would still want to work out just because being in at least decent shape, it's going to help with everything else. Like, we're not as much as we might think it, and I've said this a pretty good amount of times, we're not just we're not machines in the sense that we can sit on a computer and type in an Excel sheet and like play games or like scroll on your phone, but you're still a living, breathing thing. You got to move around. If you've got 2 dogs, one of them loves to run around, loves to play, loves to chase a ball, loves to fetch. He's just freaking active, dude. And you looked at him next to his brother, and he's kind of just sitting around. He's a little on the hefty side. He's been getting table scraps a little too much. He doesn't really move around as much. He kind of just chills. Which dog would you rather be? And sometimes putting it as simply like that is a little bit of an eye-opener, because I think the answer to that question is very clear. It's not something I have to hem and haw about. It's like, oh, do I want to be the sleepy fat dog, or do I want to be the golden retriever that can basically do a backflip every time I catch a tennis ball? Okay, but of course, I guess I'm kind of putting myself into your shoes by saying that. It's kind of up to the individual, because as much as everybody could say the most motivational shit ever, that's not forcing anybody to go to the gym. This isn't a tyrannical kind of situation. It's kind of up to you to make use of that motivation and just bring it. And the fact that some people don't do it makes it that much more valuable if you can, because that's kind of setting you apart from everybody else. The fact that they don't even want to show up, and that you did. But I think nothing else to discuss. I gotta get a freaking meal, and I gotta get a nap. I can tell I am a little sleepy. Post-workout nap never hurt anybody. If anything, it helped. If anything, it freaking helped. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for Smarms.